Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be, I just don't feel like a man. Got an email here from a viewer. He says, "Hey Coach, firstly I want to say that you're a legend." Well, I don't know about that. I'm just another dude, just trying to do the best I can to do extraordinary things and to help people in extraordinary ways so they can become extraordinary themselves. Because at the end of the day, the true measure of a leader is not how many followers he has, but how many leaders he creates. So I'm just a humble dude trying to do the best I can. He says, "Maybe you remember around 8 months ago I was writing you about my coworker, which I was dating, and she ditched me after a few dates because she didn't have any feelings for me whatsoever. That was the reason I started to look up information online and how to improve my dating, my social skills, and gain some self-confidence. I came across your work, and man, I have to tell you, your book has changed my life. I applied everything as you said, and guess what? I bet it worked." He said, "We've been dating for 6 months now, and this same girl is head over heels in love with me." Huh, why am I not shocked? How many times do I got to say, just apply what I teach and you'll see that it works for you? That's the beauty of what I do, is I can give away my best stuff, which is better than what most people are charging you thousands of dollars to learn. And that's the beauty of it, because when you apply, you're like, holy shit, this guy knows what he's talking about. And you come back for more. You tell your friends, you tell your family. You're like, dude, you got to check out this guy, Corey Wayne. And then they get the results too. He says, "But I still have a lot to learn and improve, and so I have to ask you for help again." He says, "I have a lot of trouble at work lately, as I'm not getting any money at all. Just barely enough to pay my rent. I even had to sell my car because I just couldn't afford to keep it anymore." Well, one thing I will say is making money is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. However, figuring out the mechanics part of a business model or a career, in other words, what it is that you specifically do, what your tasks are that earn you income, figuring that out if you're an entrepreneur and you got a great idea for a business, or at least what you think is a great idea, figuring out how to deliver your product or services in a way that is cheaper than what you get paid to provide it. In other words, your revenue must exceed your expenses. And so right now, obviously, your revenue and your expenses are kind of about even, and you're not really making any extra money. And so I know what that's like. But here, the interesting thing about the psychology part is all part of, do I think that I can provide value or learn a skill in order to provide value in a way that people will pay me for? Like in every business that I've ever had or career I've ever had, it takes time to walk up the corporate ladder, to climb the corporate ladder, so to speak, to learn your skill, to learn your trade. I say it all the time, repetition is the mother of skill. I mean, at this point that I'm shooting this video, I've done over 1,000 YouTube videos. And the more videos I do, the more questions that I answer, the better I personally get at answering videos and being able to clearly articulate my knowledge in a way that you as the viewer can sit there and listen and go, okay, I understand where this guy's coming from, and be able to apply it in a way that actually helps you and improves your life. And it's the same thing whether you flip hamburgers for a living, or you're you're a teacher, or you're an investment analyst, or you're a professional athlete, or whatever it is that you do. When you do something over and over and over and over and over again over the course of several months, several years of your life, you're going to get really good at it. And so part of like where you're at, you're not making money, and so you got two choices. Either you're no longer doing the things that you were doing before that made you successful in your job and enabled you to make the money that you were making, or maybe the opportunity has changed, or maybe you just don't have a passion for it anymore. It's no longer emotionally compelling to you, and that's happened a number of times to me, not only when I was working for other people, but in businesses that I had and I created. And sometimes when you leave one career, like when I left real estate, literally a year before I had made $500,000, the most money I'd ever made in my life. So I went from making $500,000 a year to zero, and all I had was expenses. I had my normal living expenses, and my new business was costing me money because I was spending more money than I was actually taking in at first because I didn't know how to figure out my business model. It's a matter of trial and error, and it took me several years to figure that out. Now, the average human being, they don't have the balls or the guts to stick with it. They give up when things get harder, they get difficult. And that's why I say so often that you have to do something for your purpose or for your living in life that is emotionally compelling to you. Because if you're not doing something that's emotionally compelling, you're never going to be really great and really outstanding at it, because you don't have the enthusiasm. Since the enthusiasm is missing, you won't take the action that you know you need to take in order to become really great at it. And so if you're doing something and you think your job totally sucks, then you need to find another job doing something that you really love, instead of staying in a job that's not paying you the money, or staying in a job that you're not happy with, or it's not compelling to you. Like when I was working for other people and I realized that my heart was not into what I was doing anymore, I knew I needed to get the fuck out of there, because the longer I stayed there, the harder and harder it became for me to motivate myself to do what I needed to do. And I never wanted to get to the point where I was one of those people that was, in other words, just doing enough to not get fired in my career. I wanted to leave way before it. In other words, if I got up and I was no longer excited about going to my job, it was time to look for a new one. The average person doesn't have the balls to do that. They stay there and they complain about their job until they get fired. And then it's, of course, the boss's fault and everybody else's fault. They don't want to look at themselves and take any personal responsibility, because it's always easy to point the finger and blame other people for our circumstances, instead of being an adult and saying, you know what? I obviously fucked up. And so he says, I don't have a lot of money to bring my girlfriend out on dates or dinner. And he says, I can't even buy her a drink. He says, I know it's my fault because I did spoil her when times were good. He says, I've talked about it with her and she's very understanding towards me, but I just don't feel like a man. He says, I'm 22 and last month has been routine for us, as we didn't go out at all, just hanging out at home, and that's it. You have to do the best you can. If you don't have money to spend, you don't have money. You can't create out of thin air. You're not a bank, obviously. Banks can create money out of thin air. That's a whole other conversation. He says, but we personally obviously can't do that. You have to find a way to add value, either to your employer or by starting some kind of business on the side. And that's what you have to do in order to increase your income, because you just can't spend what you simply don't have. And so if you don't have money to take your girl expensive places, and bottom line is you need to focus on hanging out, having fun, and hooking up. You can do stuff at home. You can make dinner together. You can make something at home and take it on a picnic and surprise her with it. There's all kinds of things you can do to be creative, to eat the food you guys are normally going to eat together, but making food together, taking it in like a picnic, having it at a lake somewhere, or a public park, or just doing things, or a public concert. Going and doing things that are free, going to a museum, something that's really inexpensive, the kind of things that you normally wouldn't do, but you can do a little bit of research on the internet or through your smartphone and find some really cool, inexpensive things to do, or things that are free that you can take your girl, because it shows that despite the fact that you don't have any money, you're still putting the effort into having a great time with your girl. And you don't have to spend a lot of money to do it. You want to hang out, have fun, and hook up. That's all you need to focus on. And so if you can't take her to extravagant dinners anymore, then you do the best you can. Then you make her dinner at home, or have a candlelight dinner, or take her to a picnic, or take her ice skating in a public park somewhere if you live someplace where it's cold. And if it's not cold there, take her roller skating somewhere. Go figure something out. Find where there's inexpensive free things, art festivals, art fairs. We can just go walk around and look at the art and enjoy other people's work and what they've done. That's hanging out and having fun together. And you don't have to spend a ton of money to create a great date. But here's the thing, is that even though you're suffering and things aren't going very well, you have to find a way to start making money and do something that you're happy about. Because if you keep going through life like this, being able to barely pay your rent, it just creates unnecessary stress, and it makes it hard for you to be happy and feel good about yourself and be the man that you need to be in your relationship when you're worried about being able to pay your bills. And so women will put up with you going through a rough time, but if you don't do anything to help yourself, if you don't participate in your own rescue, if they see you complaining that you're not getting enough hours at work, you're not making enough money, they're normally going to think, okay, well then go get yourself a different job or talk to your employer. And if you talk to your employer, it still doesn't make the changes that you need to be changed. If months and months go by and your girl sees that you're not doing anything to try to get yourself a better job or better your situation, she's not going to like that. It's going to cause her to not trust your masculine core and to shut down to you emotionally, because she's going to become fearful of the future. And that inhibits her ability just to show up, look hot, and enjoy herself so you can seduce her. because what happens is it starts forcing her to move into her masculine, and that starts to create problems. And so as long as you got to focus, remember the courtship never ends, so you got to continually date your girl. You just obviously don't have the money to go out and do the things you used to do, so you got to find inexpensive or free dates that the two of you can do together. Just do a little bit of research and take some time on your own when you're away from her, and surprise her with dates, just things that are free or they don't cost very much, or things that you can easily afford. That's what you're going to have to do. But you also need to find out, the best time to be looking for a job is when you've got one, as opposed to losing your job or staying there and eventually getting fired because you're not doing your job because you just hate it or you're not enjoying it. So I've done lots of articles on how to get any job you want. If you Google Corey Wayne, how to get any job you want, and follow that and get yourself a better paying job. So if your girl sees that you're actually actively trying to find yourself something better, then she'll appreciate that. But if she just sees you bitching about it and complaining about it and always constantly being broke but never doing anything to help yourself, eventually she's going to get tired of that, and it's going to start to affect the relationship in a negative way. So that's what I would do if I were you. So if you have a question you want to ask me, go to my website, click the Contact Me tab, which will be on the left-hand side of your screen. Send me 1 to 2 paragraphs max, and just give me several days to get back to you with a response. If you want to talk to me right away, the quickest way to get my help is to book a paid phone coaching session, and you can do that by going to my website, click the Products tab, which will be at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. If you want a digital version of my Kindle ebook, on my website, underneath the email sign-up box, is a box that has a link that'll take you right to the Amazon Kindle download page for my book. Once you get there, if you don't have a Kindle device, just download one of their free e-reader apps for whatever electronic device you want to read my book on. And if you appreciate the value of the information I offer in these video newsletters, the articles on my website, or my ebook, you can show your appreciation right now by going to my website, and on the will be a toolbar at the bottom of your screen, click the PayPal donate button and donate any amount that you feel is equal to the value of the information. And I will talk to you soon.